Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Are you ready? Hey everybody, it's Jeff. Hope you're having a great Friday as we go into the weekend here, huh? And really nice weather here. It's going to be nice again tomorrow. And I imagine it'll be busy too because people will be out shopping tomorrow, eating out and stuff. So anyway, I got a couple of videos. The first one I'm going to play is from The Humanist. It's about a little over 18 minutes long, and it talks about how Christianity is, since it's behind Project 2025, about a third of what was in that manifesto has already been implemented in just the 3 and a half or 4 weeks that Trump's been the president. And already the country is at each other's throats here and falling apart. And just imagine, what the rest of it's going to be like. So let's go to that video here and we'll talk there on the other end here.
Listen, so instead I'm going to take my time to say what MAGA has stood for these past 3 weeks. MAGA stands for trying to erase trans people from existence. MAGA stands for resegregation and racism. MAGA stands for censorship and book bans. MAGA stands for firing air traffic controllers while planes are crashing. MAGA stands for firing the people overseeing our nuclear arsenal. MAGA stands for firing military veterans and those serving them at the VA, including canceling research on veteran suicide. MAGA stands for cutting funds to education, including for disabled children. MAGA is profoundly corrupt, unmistakably anti-democracy, and most importantly, MAGA is explicitly a Nazi movement. You may have replaced a swastika with a red hat, but that is what it is. I will now engage in the time-honored American tradition of peaceful civil disobedience.
Get out.
And that, my friends, is how you make a statement. That was Chris Clue speaking at a city council meeting at Huntington Beach. And if you looked familiar, well, it's because he was the punter for the Vikings. Now, what he did there was so incredibly bold and brave to me because putting his body on the line, getting arrested to get a message out to the American people that he believes is important, that right there is commendable. That is how you resist fascism. And he's right. For all intents and purposes, MAGA is a modern-day Nazi movement. And more people are finally starting to wake up to that reality, including people in power like J.B. Pritzker. He's the governor of Illinois, and he had a similar warning for anyone who's still choosing to bury their heads in the sand at this point.
What comes next? After we've discriminated against, deported, or disparaged all the immigrants and the gay and lesbian and transgender people, the developmentally disabled, the women, and the minorities, once we've ostracized our neighbors and betrayed our friends, after that, when the problems we started with are still there staring us in the face, what comes next? All the atrocities of human history lurk in the answer to that question. And if we don't want to repeat history, then for God's sake, in this moment, we better be strong enough to learn from it. If you think I'm overreacting and sounding the alarm too soon, consider this. It took the Nazis 1 month, 3 weeks, 2 days, 8 hours, and 40 minutes to dismantle a constitutional republic. And all I'm saying is that when the 5-alarm fire starts to burn, every good person better be ready to man a post with a bucket of water if you want to stop it from raging out of control.
That was great. And I'm glad that politicians are finally speaking to the urgency of this moment, because it doesn't take fascists very long to dismantle democratic institutions, as he explained. I mean, Hitler did it in 2 months. And when it comes to Project 2025, it's meant to be implemented really quickly. In fact, within the first 180 days of Trump's administration. But at this rate, it's actually being implemented faster. Twice as fast, to be specific, which means that it is on track to be fully implemented by the end of April if this pace continues. And I say that because if you look at this Project 2025 progress tracker, you can see that after just 1 month in office, 34% of Project 2025 has already been put into place. It's more than a third of the way to full completion, and specific objectives are moving along faster than other ones. As you can see, the destruction of USAID is already fully complete, but you can also sort by agency and subject to see where else they're making progress. Just to give you some examples, so when you look at LGBTQ plus objectives in Project 2025, those are already at 67% completion. Civil rights in general is at 50% already, with rollbacks at the Department of Education progressing faster than rollbacks at the Department of Labor, where they're trying to undo civil rights era protections. Looking at the environment, it's at 42% complete. DEIA is at 100% complete. And the A stands for accessibility, for those who don't know. So they're targeting disabled people too. A couple more here. Medicare is at 0% thus far, thankfully. I'm assuming that's going to change soon. Labor is at 25%, with most of the violations coming from the federal government itself. So I'll link to that down below. If you want to see it for yourself, I would encourage you to bookmark it so you can keep track of what's happening. But just think about this. 34% of Project 2025 has been implemented. We're a third of the way there, and already it feels like an entirely new government. So what is it going to look like when they hit 50%, 60%, 80%? What if they actually go all the way and cross the finish line, get 100%? I don't know if they're going to go that far, admittedly, but the fact that they've already implemented a third of Project 2025 is genuinely alarming. I mean, it's transformational, to put it mildly. It actually feels like we're undergoing a revolution already within the first 30 days of Trump's administration. And the reason why it feels like that, the reason why we all feel like we're losing our minds because of this, is because that's the point. In fact, before the election, the president of the Heritage Foundation, which is the organization that created Project 2025, explicitly described Project 2025 as the Second American Revolution.
We are in the process of the Second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless if the left allows it to be.
Make no mistake about it, that was a threat. He's saying that if you don't obey and you don't let them transform your government, you can expect violence. Now, to be honest, I don't think that they want it to come to that, because that's going to make it more difficult for them to do what they want to do. But until it gets to that point, they're going to do their best to try to crush opponents the old-fashioned way, through censorship and legal intimidation. But if they need to, he's telling you right there, they're willing to kill people to solidify the creation of a new Christian nationalist America. So we're in a battle for the soul of this country. And I hate saying that because it sounds almost like a Democratic Party talking point. Like when Joe Biden launched his first presidential campaign in 2020, that's what he said. Oh, this is a campaign to restore the soul of the nation. But without hyperbole, that's actually what this is. Going forward, we're either going to be a fascist country, or we're not going to be a fascist country. We're at a turning point, which is why I think it's entirely appropriate for individuals like Chris Clue and J.B. Pritzker to invoke Nazis when talking about MAGA, because this is the modern day equivalent to that. And anyone who's part of it should carry that shame with them for the rest of their lives. And as bad as things feel now, it's bound to get even worse when they do implement more of Project 2025, if it actually does get 100% completed. And I say this because one goal, for example, is to erase LGBTQ plus people from society by trying to criminalize their existence in public life. And they've already tried to erase trans people from LGBTQ history by purging all references to them on federal websites, and even by removing them from the Stonewall National Monument, which to me feels like the biggest slap in the face ever. Because for those who don't know, trans women of color are the reason why modern LGBTQ plus rights are even a thing. It's the reason why the movement existed. Had it not been for the activism of trans women of color, Marsha P. Johnson, Sylvia Rivera, queer people would not have the rights that they have today. So when we say that there is no LGB without the T, that's what we mean. And for them to try to cleanse them of our history is insulting, to put it mildly. But that's only the start, because the Department of Homeland Security just scrapped a rule prohibiting surveillance on someone solely on the basis of sexual orientation, which makes you wonder, why exactly would DHS want to collect intelligence on people specifically because of their sexual orientation? What threat do we pose? It's a pretty ominous sign, right? But we're not even scratching the surface, because another goal of Project 2025, putting aside LGBTQ rights specifically, is to roll back voting rights. Now, Trump is doing what he can through executive orders, but Congress is also doing their part. Republican Chip Roy reintroduced the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, aka the SAVE Act, and this legislation could literally strip voting rights away from nearly 70 million married American women, because it would base eligibility to vote on your birth certificate. But if you got married and you changed your name, guess what? The name on your driver's license no longer matches the name that's on your birth certificate. That's kind of a problem, isn't it? This would also affect some married queer people, as well as trans people as well, who have a different name than the one on their birth certificate, unless they can get it changed. But they're putting up this obstacle that will disenfranchise millions of women specifically because they don't want women to vote. So we are rolling back the clock at record speed, as intended by Project 2025, but I've only given you 2 examples from a Christian nationalist fascist manifesto that's more than 900 pages. There's a lot in there. But another key component that I want to talk about to Project 2025 is the concentration of power in the executive, because the people behind Project 2025 believe in a bogus legal philosophy called unitary executive theory. Now, in this theory, the president has power in the executive that is near absolute. And this week, Donald Trump just signed an executive order that essentially puts that legal theory into practice. Just listen to how they describe it.
This executive order would establish important oversight functions in the Office of Management and Budget and its subsidiary office, OIRA, supervising independent agencies and many of their actions, and also reestablishes the longstanding norm that only the president or the attorney general can speak for the United States when stating an opinion as to what the law is.
Yeah, see, that's not how that's supposed to work. And to put in perspective just how big of a power grab this is, I want to read a quick excerpt from John Bergmeyer. He wrote a piece in Common Dreams, and this is the legal director at Public Knowledge, and I think that he explains it really well. Quote, in the order, the Trump administration purports to seize for itself the power Congress delegated to independent regulatory agencies, and as written, declares the White House's interpretation of the law as authoritative, with no mention of the courts. Of course, the president is not and never has been the final arbiter of what is lawful. Executive orders are not the law. They are statements of policy and memos from the president about how the executive branch conducts its internal affairs. By attempting to use executive orders to override actual laws, the kinds that are passed by Congress, not issued on a whim from the resolute desk, the Trump administration is effectively asserting that it stands above the law. Indeed, that it is the law. But the role of the executive branch is not to decide what the law is or to pick and choose which ones it likes, but to carry out and enforce the law as written. Donald Trump is a high-ranking government employee, not a king. If there are laws he does not like, he can work with Congress to change them. Well, I mean, that's how it's supposed to work, at least in theory, but Trump doesn't actually think that he's bound to the Constitution because he thinks he's a king. I mean, the official White House Twitter account literally tweeted out a picture of him wearing a crown, calling him a king. And before that, he tweeted, "He who saves his country does not violate any law," which is a tacit admission that he knows he's breaking a lot of laws, and a declaration that he has supremacy over the laws that he's violating, which is why he's unbothered by lawsuits and court cases, because he doesn't think that he has to follow them. And he's not. And legal experts say that he's dangerously close to the red line of just openly defying judges. But I don't think it's a stretch to say that what he's doing already amounts to open defiance of federal judges, because he is ignoring them. But the reason why legal experts aren't calling it open defiance yet is because his administration is still cooking up flimsy legal justifications for their defiance. The Washington Post reports, the most dramatic example came Wednesday. Plaintiffs in a lawsuit seeking to block the Trump administration's 90-day pause on foreign aid, asked the judge to hold the administration in civil contempt for violating his temporary restraining order, blocking the freeze. A day earlier, attorneys for the government said agencies could keep a hold on much of the funds despite Judge Amir Ali's order, based on statutes and regulations that exist separately from Trump's executive directive. The government said Ali's order was silent on those other powers and vowed to continue suspension of aid unless the judge clarified his ruling. Legal experts and a former federal judge said doing so despite a court order was extraordinary and troubling. David Super, a Georgetown University law professor, said the administration was one step short of outright defiance of a federal judge. Now, keep in mind that this is just one of many examples of him defying court orders, and that same professor who was quoted said that this is how the administration is responding to all legal challenges. Now, I'm no expert, but it seems like some experts are hesitant to call it outright defiance unless he just straight up says no to a judge, meaning so long as he continues to provide bogus legal justifications for his noncompliance, then it's technically not a constitutional crisis. But I mean, by that standard, I guess it's not a constitutional crisis if he chooses to run for a third term and defy the 22nd Amendment either, right? Because you can also argue there that he has constitutional authority to run for a third term based on some bullshit legal rationale. Maybe, it only bars presidents from serving more than 2 consecutive terms. It doesn't say that, but maybe you can make that argument based on some bogus legal theory. And before you accuse me of being hyperbolic, a circuit court judge is already laying the groundwork for that kind of an argument, saying that the question of him serving a third term isn't straightforward, actually. It's a pretty novel and complex constitutional question. So these are the kinds of arguments that we can expect from a corrupt administration that lies compulsively. And when you take into consideration the fact that he also ordered the Justice Department to fire all remaining Biden-era attorneys under the pretense of depoliticizing the DOJ, ironically, well, we have to stop pretending that this isn't what it looks like. The man wants to be a fucking king. And not a modern king, an old school king who's hungry for global conquest. I mean, he's trying to annex Greenland, the Panama Canal. He wants to make Canada the 51st state. He announced that he wants to take over Gaza. He's demanding that Ukraine give up 50% of their natural resources in perpetuity as a thank you for defending them against Russia. I mean, the U.S. would basically own Ukraine if they agreed to go along with this. And who knows how close we'll be to war with Iran, since Netanyahu is trying to lure Trump into attacking them. Maybe he'll choose to make them the 52nd state after Canada. I mean, it feels like anything is on the table at this point. So we need to get our heads out of the sand and recognize the seriousness of the situation that we're in. It is a constitutional crisis, and Trump very clearly wants to be a dictator, and he is a fascist. He has shown us who he is again and again. And if you still don't believe him, after he tried to overthrow the last election, after Project 2025, after Doge has violated dozens of laws, I don't know what to say. I mean, I know it's hard to accept that our country has fallen to fascism, but how many more red flags do we need to see before people wake up? And I know I'm preaching to the choir here. You all get it. But a lot of other people are still in denial about what's happening. The administration themselves, they couldn't be any clearer if they tried. The official White House account tweeted out what they're calling an ASMR video of migrants being deported. And I don't think that Trump himself tweeted this, to be clear, but this is the kind of sick, sadistic people that we're dealing with. They are fucking monsters, and the MAGA movement is a collection of fascist Trump cultists and Christian nationalists. And Chris Clue was right to call MAGA a modern-day Nazi movement, because that's what the fuck it is. And we need to stop pretending like it's not. Like the Nazis, they want absolute power, and they want to terrorize anyone who doesn't align with their demented ideology. I mean, just listen to the way that this one MAGA pastor talks about opponents to Christianity.
You have to reward friends and punish enemies. It's not enough just to release the good guys. You then have to terrorize, absolutely terrorize. Your enemies should be having nightmares every night thinking about what the Christians are going to do to them. Christians should be in government, and those Christians who pursue political office and attain it by the grace of God should absolutely be a terror to anybody who is a threat to Christians here in America.
So that's the kind of people who we're dealing with. It's one person, yes, but still I think that he's indicative of the people in power currently, who are overtly cruel, explicitly fascistic, and just terrible people in general. And to be clear, anyone who doesn't live in accordance with his interpretation of the Bible is a threat to Christianity, according to him. That includes LGBTQ plus people and straight people who have sex out of wedlock and non-traditional women. Perhaps you work, perhaps you wear pants, I don't know. Anything that falls outside of their norms, that is something that he wants to ban. Now, lucky for this guy, Project 2025, an explicitly fascist Christian nationalist project, is already at 34% completion. And Trump just signed an executive order that will supposedly fight, quote, anti-Christian bias. And yes, that too is unconstitutional. It explicitly violates the First Amendment, but he clearly doesn't care because the long-term goal in America is turn it into a Christian nationalist society where everybody complies with the whims of whatever the fascist dictator is at that time. And the ends justify the means. Now, 10 years ago, I would have said that the Constitution would have stopped this. It would have protected us from this. But now that we have a president who doesn't think that the Constitution even applies to him, it kind of feels like everything is on the table. So I commend people like Chris Clue and J.B. Pritzker and basically anybody else who's using whatever platform they can get and using the appropriate and necessary language to highlight the severity of this moment. The MAGA movement is unquestionably a modern-day Nazi movement, and they pose an existential threat to every one of us. And we all need to wake up to that reality before it's too late.
Luigi. Okay. You know, I have to say that the idea that the executive orders have been abused to this level under Trump, okay? And I'm saying abused because the fact is every time he issues one, people come out, and say that executive order violates the Constitution. This executive order violates the law and the Constitution, okay? And the courts are quiet. And, well, maybe not quiet, but they don't seem to be pushing back like they're supposed to, like the system is designed to do, to keep a president in check. And so what happens when people, see this guy issuing one executive order after another? Okay, well, if you're a sane person, you would say this guy is just using that as an excuse, to simply override or go over the heads of Congress and the Senate, right? He's basically just, skipping over them to just enact policies. Okay, and that's not what that's supposed to be designed for. All right, and the fact that, that people realize that what he's doing is wrong should be enough incentive to make people get out there and say, we need to stop this. Okay, he's not using the executive order in the way it was intended for. If Biden was the president right now and he was issuing all these executive orders, goddamn well the Republicans and MAGA would be at the Democrats' throats, trying to get, to stop him from doing it. This, okay? So the fact that one of theirs is doing it and, everybody seems okay, well, what are we going to do? Okay, is ridiculous. It's no different. Okay? It's wrong. He's abusing that power. And frankly, if we ever get democracy back in this country, I think the executive order should be okay, period. I don't care what reason somebody comes up with to say, well, we gotta have it for no, fuck that. Okay? If the president if we get a president that's gonna abuse that thing, that's just too much of a temptation for a jackass like Trump to take and use that over and over again. No, get rid of it. Okay? An executive order is seen by the right wing as a scepter for a king. And that's not what it is. That is not what it is. Okay? Go to your fucking basic civics lessons and find out what an executive order is and how that has to apply in the confines of our system of government. You will see that it is not a up and down fucking system. It's not black and white. It's not, okay, I issue this and that's it. It has to happen. No, it doesn't work that way. Okay, I'm sorry. But the thing is that Trump has got everybody basically on his side, it seems, and nobody wants to challenge it. I mean, even the Republicans that are out there who are, kind of nervous about what Trump's doing ain't saying anything. That makes them just as bad. okay? Because they know better, but they won't say anything. And it's like, if there's ever a time for someone to stand up and speak out, now is the time. Now is the fucking time. There's no excuse now to sit on your ass and just watch from afar. Because now the problems are going to land right on your doorstep now. Okay? This isn't a problem that's happening in another country across the ocean. This is a problem happening right here in your neighborhood. And, it's an issue that requires the civil population, you, me, everybody, okay, to get active. And that doesn't mean by voting, okay? I'm sorry, but the days of, using the vote to try to keep the country going in the right direction are over, because too many people have, they've either not availed themselves to an election, or they simply didn't use it at all. They let the country float, all right, and bitched about what's happened afterwards. Well, you can't complain about what's going on if you weren't participating in the whole process. It's your duty as an American citizen to be part of the political structure. I don't care if you don't believe that that's the way it should be, but it is the way it is, okay? And a democracy cannot run with just a third of the country voting in every election. No. Everybody has to be voting. And I totally agree with the law that, that's been talked about forcing people to vote on every fucking election, okay? Because otherwise, you're letting your democracy slip out of your little fingers if you don't participate in it. And I'm talking to the Democrats out there. I mean, I don't give a shit about Republicans, because, whenever they use the vote, they use it for stupid reasons. But for you Democrats out there that sat on your ass and didn't go vote, okay, I'm talking to you. You people knew better. You knew what Trump was. But for some reason, maybe it was racism. I don't know what it is. Or misogyny. You couldn't stand having a black woman as the president who outstripped Trump in intelligence by 50 miles. Okay, that woman could walk all over him. But no, I don't know. You guys tried to find things, nitpick things. Okay? There's no such thing as a perfect person to be president. Everyone's got flaws. But Trump, he's got all the flaws. And you still voted for him. Or you didn't vote. You just stayed home and didn't vote. Okay? What did you think was going to happen? We came out and voted against Trump, when Biden ran. Biden won by a fucking landslide. A bigger margin than Trump won in this last election. Because you guys voted in that one. But you didn't vote in this one, and it was the most important election. And I was saying it all last year. It's a historic moment. It's going to decide the fate of our country. But you didn't believe me, and you didn't listen. Okay? So we fucking, we voted, and Trump got in there. And now everything's fallen apart in just 4 weeks, And like what's his name said in the video, it took Germany a very short time to become what it turned into with Hitler there. I mean, Christ. So here you got Trump, who's basically, Hitler 2.0, okay, and he's got a government that's neutered, basically, or just locked in a I don't know what to do mode, like Hakeem Jeffries, okay. They're all sitting down, they don't know what to do. And while they're sitting there trying to figure out what to do, Trump is jumping leaps and bounds, okay, enacting things right and left. We don't have time to sit here and wonder what to do. Get out and do something. I don't care what it is. Go shit on the fucking White House lawn. I don't care what it is. You've got to respond to this. You've got to do something. You've got to stir the shitstorm, okay, in Congress and the Senate, okay? You've got to start fights. Remember how how they fight in England there when they do their when they run in their government. Okay, we got to have that level of fucking activity in our government right fucking now. This is the time to throw dignity out the window, okay? You know what I'm saying? This is the time that we have to go in bare knuckles and start fighting with the other side to wake them the fuck up. You know, that's what we got to do. We have to put them on the spot to let them know that, look, you guys are going to get primaried, okay? Trump's going to ruin this country big time. And since we got a primary coming up and, you know, very soon here, okay, the people can't take it out on Trump, you know, when they're going to be upset. So they're going to take it out on you, the congressmen, the senators. They're going to take their anger out on you guys. So if you're not going to do anything, okay, to stand up to authoritarianism, if you're not going to do anything to show the people that, you know, we can do something to stop it, if you're not going to do anything, people are just going to say, you guys are useless. All right? You guys are useless. So it's either you do something now or we do something later. Okay? That's the way it is. The longer you take to fucking do anything about this, the worse it's going to be for you. And that goes for Democrats too, because right now the Democrats ain't too happy with the Democrat politicians right now, because we're waiting, you know, to see what they're going to do. And, you know, we're out there protesting, we're out there doing these things to get noticed, to let people know we're not happy, okay? We're upset with this, what's going on. We're sending you the signal. We're not getting any, you know, acknowledgement from you from that. I mean, maybe AOC hears it, you know, she talks about it. Bernie Sanders certainly does. He hears about it, talks about it. But, you know, we're getting very, you know, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem, and Nancy Pelosi, you know, the heads, the you know, the legacy fucking leaders here, okay, where the fuck are they? You know? Gun sales right now are going up. I don't know if anyone's ever read about that, but I was looking that up today, you know, to see what's going on. And I found an article here that talks about, you know, from right after the election to now, okay? And they said that January was a big friggin' jump in gun sales, okay? And this is from guns.com, where to find this information. They're sitting here bragging about this, I guess, but they said there was over 2.2 million checks, you know, background checks conducted just last month. That's almost a 6% increase from January of 2024. Okay, you see what I'm saying? Okay, because in 2024 was 2.1 million, and last month was 2.2, almost 2.3, because it was like 2,299,989. So, quite a jump, quite a fucking jump. Okay. I mean, they haven't got all the numbers yet for this month, because the month's not over yet. So, but they're just talking about last month and how, you know, gun sales have become extremely popular right now, and that's because I think people are angry and afraid of the way the government is, the way it's going right now, okay? People are scared. That, you know, somebody says that, you know, this could be that people are mad that politicians are out of step with Americans' value of their constitutional rights, which, yes, I see that, you know, because we're seeing with Trump that constitutional rights don't mean anything to MAGA, okay? They want to be sheep. MAGA wants to be sheep. They want to be dragged, you know, by the nose. Trump is the sheep herder, and they don't want to think for themselves. They don't want to do anything other than what Trump tells them to do, you know, because, hey, that's how a cult is, right? And that's how it becomes, you know, a Nazi party. You know what I'm saying? You got to have willing vessels out there to absorb all the bullshit from their orange god there, then that's exactly what this is. But like I said, these gun sales are up, which, you know, I imagine is probably going to continue to be high in the coming months. And at some point, you know, as it was laid out that, you know, a third of the Project 2025 has already been implemented, and there's already this much unrest, civil unrest. Okay, when the whole thing is finally implemented, this is going to be mild right now, what's going on. And I would predict a civil revolt will be sparked. It certainly, I think, would be needed when you don't have Congress and the Senate listening to the people like they are now. They're not listening. Okay, so what are people to do when your government that's supposed to be working for you is not working at all? Okay. And the courts, well, they're impotent as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it doesn't matter how many judges Biden appointed before he left office. It doesn't seem like any judge is willing to stand up for the Constitution here. They're watching Trump break every fucking law in the book, and no one's challenging him on it. Okay, and so we need to see more pushback, a lot of pushback. If they give a shit at all about keeping civility in this country and not getting the population out there on the streets getting violent, okay, if they give a shit at all about that, they're going to do their fucking job. They're going to do their goddamn job. And if they don't want to do it, then they should step down and let somebody else take it, okay? This is the time to get rid of the Susan Collinses and the, you know, Nancy Pelosi's and, you know, and the fucking, you know, Hakeem Jeffries, all those people here who don't seem to want to do anything. It's time for you guys to get out, okay? This is crisis time now. If you guys are not going to be wartime politicians, go. Because what we need right now are just that, wartime politicians. We got to have people who are ready to stand their ground, okay, and go to war with the other side. All right, because the population is gearing up for it, and they need to be gearing up for it too. Because Trump can only go so far with this until it becomes impossible. And then all the congressmen in the Senate who have jobs, well, they won't be needed. You might as well shut the doors at those places, because none of those politicians are going to matter. They're just going to be taking up government money and sitting around doing nothing, okay? Because nobody's going to listen to them. You know, any law that needs to get done will be passed only by the president, okay? And whatever the Constitution says has to be done, well, they won't look at that. That's just, you know, so unless they want to lose the relevancy of their job, okay, they'll have to do something. Like I said, either you do your job now or the public will do its job later, okay? And you're going to see a shift one way or the other, okay? You know, gamble on that and see how it comes out, you know? Be stupid. All right, let's go to a commercial break. We'll be right back.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Roxy Sugar, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
I think between the couple, girl. But I am a few percent of your love. So I will leave you in your side you have lost. It's been so many times I can't tell some more.
Traitor! 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 You're a traitor! 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 You're a fucking traitor! Traitor! You're a traitor! You're a traitor! Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you! Let go!
Feeling my husband with 8 inches was like reliving our first time. Thanks to the salt trick, he makes me gush like a broken pipe. And just last month, I was ready to divorce my husband. But then he showed me his new 8-inch magic wand. Now, I can barely hold it in my hand. This salt trick is hands down the biggest advantage any man can have heading into 2025. I wasn't kidding when I said you should take it easy with this trick. It can turn a sad little twig into a raging anaconda. It's ridiculously simple. And it's heartbreaking to see so many men missing out on the chance to finally make their women happy. So far, this easy homemade trick has helped over 29,000 men naturally increase both size and thickness. This is the same secret top-paid adult film actors use to keep their bats way above average. It's also how they manage to handle 3, 4, or even 5 women in a row without losing their stamina. The best part? It works for men of all ages, takes just 30 seconds before bed, and can give you some incredible results in no time. If you want to skip the details and go straight to the video, just click the Watch Now button below to learn how to pull off this simple but powerful trick tonight. You should probably watch it alone, if you know what I mean. Don't waste any more time. Watch it before it gets taken down or you can't find this video anymore. Your wife or girlfriend will thank you for the rest of her life.
Some people have a deep, abiding respect for the natural beauty that was once this country. And some people don't. People start pollution. People can stop it. Write for Pollution Booklet, Box 1771, Radio City Station, New York.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Okay, welcome back. All right, second video. This one is from Ben Marcellus, and he's talking about how the world is standing up to support Zelensky, and they're kind of ditching their ties to the United States, which is expected. And I can't say I blame those countries for doing just that. In fact, I would say more power to you. And I wouldn't try to ally yourself with the United States for a long time. It doesn't matter if Trump leaves the white, whatever. Even if we get a Democrat president next time, I don't care. Do not renew your ties to this country until we get our shit together here. We need to get ourselves back in line with the way things were, the Constitution and all that. We need to get ourselves back to sanity, okay? And until that happens, the rest of the world really ought to avoid this country altogether, because America is not stable. It's a nightmare. It's a fucking insane asylum, okay? Stay the hell out of it, okay? Let's go to that video.
Emmanuel Macron made this incredible video and also called out Donald Trump for living in disinformation silos and spewing Russian propaganda. Play this clip.
I mean, we shouldn't buy into the arguments I hear everywhere. The Ukrainian president was elected through free elections in Ukraine. He was not at all the favorite. I remember it like it was yesterday. And so he's a president elected in a free system. That is not the case with Vladimir Putin, who kills his opponents and manipulates these elections for a long time. Unfortunately, that is not the case in too many countries around the world. He then had to implement, because there was a war in his country, martial law. Do you think he can organize presidential or legislative elections in a country where several million Ukrainian women and men have fled for their safety, in a country where he has mobilized several million others who are on the front lines, where there are 1,000 dead and injured per day, and where there is a whole strip of its territory that is conquered by Russia? What are we talking about? Do you think that we, in the same situation, would have fun holding elections? He cannot hold elections. So if we want free elections in Ukraine, a lasting peace is needed in Ukraine. That's the prerequisite. Anyone doing anything before that is manipulating. And what is the plan of some? I know it very well. A ceasefire that will not be respected. Quick elections to manipulate them. It's not a good idea. So yes, President Zelensky, he is legitimate, and we wish for more democracy in Ukraine over time, thanks to lasting peace. And President Zelensky wants democracy in Ukraine too, since he is its product. If the system had been manipulated, he would never have been elected president himself.
With some strong words there by the French President Macron. Now I'll show you the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau. Here he tells Zelensky and Ukraine that Canada's got the back of Ukraine and Ukrainians. Let's play it.
Ukrainians have been fighting and dying not just to protect their sovereignty, their territorial integrity. They're also fighting to protect the rules-based order that keeps us all safe around the world, and has for close to 80 years now. This period of peace, stability, prosperity for the world happens because we had rules around borders, around not invading your neighbors, that Russia chose deliberately to violate a number of years ago. That is why Canada and our allies are unequivocal on standing up against Vladimir Putin's illegal, immoral, unjust violations of the international order, and why I'm looking forward to sitting down with my European partners in a couple of hours to talk about how we will continue to stand unequivocally in defense of Ukraine, but also in defense of the rules that keep us all safe.
Also, Canada has the largest Ukrainian immigrant population as well in the country. But I want to share this with you as well. So just so you see how the right-wing propaganda machine works. So as Donald Trump and all of these MAGAs are attacking Prime Minister Trudeau and talking about how the United States should conquer or annex Canada, who do they go to right away? Joe Rogan, who, by the way, the Midas Touch network and podcast is beating in downloads if you haven't heard. And then so Rogan, who's basically a shill for the oligarchy and the billionaires. Here he is trying to attack Trudeau, because this is what all the MAGAs want. The MAGAs are trying to get in their maple MAGA leaders. So what does Rogan do? Rogan calls Trudeau a communist. Here, watch this.
What can happen here if you don't have the right laws? Because people like that fuckhead, Justin,
they pretend
you guys are on first name basis.
Yeah, that cocksucker. They pretend that they're, and I don't talk this way about anybody.
No, I'm really surprised.
I genuinely despise people like that. And I think it's good to say it publicly because people need to understand like what these people are doing. These people are leading you on the road to legitimate communism.
Man, Joe Rogan is so pathetic. No wonder that his views and downloads are down and the Midas Touch network is beating him. So Rogan and Trump are basically parroting each other here, just so you have a sense of while these world leaders are standing up for Ukraine against Russia, trying to conquer it and annexing pieces of it and taking its land. Donald Trump is out and about at a Republican governors conference, bragging about how he wants to take over Panama. Listen to what he has to say. Play this clip.
I want to know the truth. But we're gonna see about that. We're looking at Greenland, and we have to take back the Panama Canal because that wasn't the deal. We gave the Panama Canal to Panama. It was the most expensive thing ever built in our country. It'd be the equivalent of $2 trillion today. We spend massive amounts. We lost 38,000 lives from the mosquito and snakes. A lot of bad snake bites, but mostly the mosquitoes, the malaria. They killed 38,000 of our people. They paid laborers 5 times what they were getting in the United States to go, knowing that there was a good chance they were going to die. 20% of them died. And Jimmy Carter, may he rest in peace, the late, great Jimmy Carter, gave it away for $1. It's also the most profitable thing ever built. You know, it's what you hear about casinos and you hear about all the stuff. They're peanuts compared to this. It's the most profitable thing ever built. There's never been anything. I mean, you have ships lined up. And by the way, when they gave it away like a bunch of dummies.
I mean, so utterly despicable. By the way, it should be noted that Donald Trump bankrupted all of his casinos essentially over and over again because he's an idiot and he's one of the worst business people ever. He's not a builder. He's always been a destroyer. He's been a pathetic trust fund kid who's a freaking loser in everything that he does. That's what he has been his entire life, a loser. Yeah, I'm looking at you, loser. I know you watch this and I know your team watches this. So pathetic. Anyway, I digress. Donald Trump then attacks Canada right here. Play this clip.
Etc. And they get 95% of their product from the United States. I think they have to become the 51st state. And you heard the people booing the national anthem, but I think ultimately they'll be praising the national anthem. We'll have to work out some deal with it because I do like the "O Canada," right? It's a beautiful thing. I think we're going to have to keep it for the 51st state. I call him Governor Trudeau. I said, Governor Trudeau's doing a wonderful job. I think it's actually cost him his election, if you want to know the truth. But we're gonna see about that. We're looking at Greenland, and we have to take back the Panama Canal because that wasn't the deal. We gave the Panama Canal to.
Now, one of the interesting developments yesterday is the United States envoy to Ukraine, Keith Kellogg. He was in Ukraine to visit with Zelensky. Then Donald Trump stopped them from having a press conference that was supposed to take place. By the way, I think Keith Kellogg, Lieutenant General, I think he's a good guy. I think he's not going to last much longer in the Trump administration. I would not be shocked if we find out that he resigned or is fired pretty soon because he's actually standing up for Ukraine. But the Trump administration stopped Kellogg and Zelensky from having the press conference, but Zelensky smartly posted about his meeting with Kellogg. Let me just show you the video of this meeting.
Zelensky, how are you? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We're trying to do what
Take your breath. Thank you.
And here's what Zelensky said. I had a productive meeting with Keith Kellogg, a good discussion, many important details. I'm grateful to the United States for all of the assistance and bipartisan support for Ukraine and the Ukrainian people. It's important for us in the entire free world that American strength is felt. We had a detailed conversation about the battlefield situation, how to return our prisoners of war, and effective security guarantees. From the very first second of this war, Ukraine has sought peace. We must and can ensure that peace is strong and lasting so that Russia can never return the war with war. Ukraine is ready for a strong, effective investment and security agreement with the President of the United States. We have proposed the fastest and most constructive way to achieve results. Our team is ready to work 24/7. Success unites us all. Strong Ukraine-U.S. relations benefit the entire world. I thank General Kellogg for the joint work and to achieve these important results. Now, notably here, Zelensky's message was actually not to Donald Trump per se. Zelensky's basically ignoring what the stuff that Donald Trump's saying, and he's appealing to the American people and to other leaders in the United States Senate and the House of Representatives. That's how weak and pathetic I think Zelensky even knows Donald Trump is, that Zelensky is just going to ignore the stupid crap, not confront the stupid crap that Trump's saying, and just project power and strength, and that he's not going to give in to Trump's bullying without saying that. Let's go to our friend Charlie Angus, member of parliament in Canada. He was just at the NATO summit in Brussels. Here's what he had to say.
I think we've witnessed the most extraordinary week in European politics since the fall of the Berlin Wall. But that was a good story. What we've seen over the last week, beginning with the disaster in Munich with J.D. Vance, total attack on European democracy, and then followed up here at our NATO meetings with all of America's key allies, that they flushed 75 years of diplomacy, hard work, commitment to the rule of law and international diplomacy. They just flushed it down the toilet while Trump and Vance and the MAGA morons here took the time to kneel down and kiss the feet of Vladimir Putin. Things will not go back to what they were. And Europe now is very much cast adrift from the United States, and certainly Canada is looking to where our place in the world is, and we're looking more to Europe now than to our closest neighbor.
And here's what Angus had to say again. Let's play it.
Has kissed up to the gangster Putin from the get-go. When we saw the horrific violence unleashed against the Ukrainian people, Donald Trump thought this was the sign of a savvy genius. To attack a leader like Zelensky, who has more moral fiber in his little toe than Donald Trump has in his entire body and his entire cabinet, is outrageous. Vladimir Zelensky has shown the world what democracy means. Donald Trump is a convicted felon and a sexual pervert. Those two men shouldn't even be mentioned in the same sentence. But this is what I would leave you with, because it was said to me by one of my Eastern European colleagues who came up after they had heard that Donald Trump is now calling for regime change in Ukraine. And she said to me, the Ukrainian people survived the Holodomor. The Ukrainian people survived Stalin. The Ukrainian people survived Chernobyl. They've survived Putin. Do you think that Donald Trump is going to break the Ukrainian people? So Donald, just put a sock in it for now. You need to understand that the damage that you're doing to help your criminal buddy, Vladimir Putin, will pay in the long term enormous damage to democracy, to your allies, and to the world. And the world will be forced now to treat America the way we treat Putin. And we are going to all have to pick up our game dramatically to defend democracy, whether it's in Ukraine or whether it's in our own countries.
Zelensky posted throughout the day as well about his meetings with world leaders. He posted over and over again because he's building this incredible coalition of leaders that he's already built, and he's maintaining the relationships and again projecting strength in contrast to Donald Trump's pathetic weakness and bullying and petulant third grade schoolyard behavior. Here's what Zelensky had to say, though. Let me play this clip for you. Let's play it.
Volodymyr Zelensky, wishing you health, dear Ukrainians. It was a very long day today. Conducted a session, military reports were given, our positions on the front, the supply situation, contracts, weapon packages, work continues. I thank each of our partners who understand that strong positions are needed, and on the front, and in the army to protect people, and in diplomacy both strength and truth matter. Volodymyr Zelensky. There were reports about deep strikes on Russian military targets and infrastructure in Russia that supports the war. For every $2 invested in our long-range capabilities, we are already causing almost $10 in Russian damages. This is the necessary dynamic. Volodymyr Zelensky. Russia must feel the cost of the war to truly want peace. Volodymyr Zelensky. Today, the head of the Foreign Intelligence Service reported on significant matters separately. There were also many the blogger of our international work. General Kellogg, a meeting that restores hope. We need strong agreements with America, agreements that truly work. I instructed to work quickly and very, very carefully. Economy and security must always go hand in. Volodymyr Zelensky. Bam, next. And the details of the agreements matter. The better the details are specified, the more results we get. Volodymyr Zelensky discussed with General Kellogg the front, the necessity to release all our prisoners held in Russia, as well as the need for a reliable and clear security guarantee system so that war does not return and the Russians do not fall. Life, peace is needed for all of us. Ukraine, Europe, America, everyone in the world. I just talked with President Macron Salme, Volodymyr Zelensky. We coordinated our positions. We discussed further steps, including views on security guarantees. I spoke with the Prime Minister of Denmark, and we appreciate that Meta and the people of Denmark understand what we strive for. Volodymyr Zelensky, I spoke with the Prime Minister of Norway, not only about our bilateral relations, but also about the future of Europe, about energy security. I spoke with the President of Finland. There are good, important proposals. We exchanged our views on the development of the situation. I spoke with the Prime Minister of Canada. I informed about what is happening now. We discussed prospects. We discussed in particular the prospects within the G7. I spoke today with the President of the Republic of South Africa. And I am grateful for the support of our sovereignty, and for the position that the negotiation process should be inclusive. Peace is always a collective matter, and even more so the peace that we must leave for all future generations. Volodymyr Zelensky, Bakalmasentano Kastadi, Dadinshesi. I thank everyone for the help and for the sense of unity. Unity which is as important now as it was in 22. I am proud of our people, proud of all those who fight, who helps, who believes that evil should not win in wars. And I started today by honoring the memory of Ukrainians who died 11 years ago. Already 11 years. Volodymyr Zelensky, Bui years. Heroes of the Heavenly 100, heroes of dignity. 11 years ago on this day, the first aggressive steps of Russia towards our Crimea began. Ukraine will do everything to end this war, everything necessary, and we need a worthy and dignified peace. To the people who bravely defend themselves, I am proud of you, Ukrainians. I see how you defend the truth, and that is very important. I thank you. Thank you for your support. Glory to Ukraine.
Very powerful stuff there. Let me know what you think as world leaders resist, rise up, stand against Donald Trump as Zelensky projects power. You tell me what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 5 million subscribers together. Thank you for watching.
Well, it was pretty telling, you know, what Zelensky was telling people here in his speech, and he's really he won't be deterred. Let me just say, he won't be deterred by Trump, no matter what Trump says about Zelensky. Okay, he's got his people behind him. His country is behind him. They want to keep fighting. Okay, they want to keep. This is their war, basically. Yeah, we helped them and all that. But if they have to go it alone, they will if they have to, because it's their fucking country. We wouldn't be any different. If another country was invading us, we would stand our ground and we would fight it right to the last man. And that's what Zelensky's doing. And this idea that Trump cares, if they would have came to me first, they wouldn't have lost it. Trump doesn't give two shits about Ukraine. All he wants of Ukraine is what's there. Okay? And I'm talking about when any useful ores and stuff like that they got. That's all they wanted. Trump and Putin are after that country for the same fucking reason. Okay, that's why any peace talks, any ceasefires that Trump and Putin arrange without Zelensky is only because they're trying to bully Zelensky to capitulate to them. You know, that, oh, now you're not just fighting Russia, you're fighting the United States too now, because we're both in agreement that this fighting ends. And if you don't end it, then it's not just the Russian people you're going to fight, it's going to be the United States too. You see what I'm saying? They're basically trying to corner him, and Zelensky's not going to give in to that. And Europe won't either. If Europe sees that that's what we're trying to do, which I'm sure they probably have already thought what Trump's motives are. If they see that that's where we're headed, Europe will retaliate, okay? I don't know how. Maybe it'll start with sanctions, just like what we put on Russia. They'll sanction the United States, and they would probably send in ground troops to fight in Ukraine before Ukraine is going to be like the focal point of a whole fucking world war, okay? And that's unfortunate because that's a beautiful country, Ukraine is. All right, and in the last 3-4 years, it's like goddamn Bosnia all over the place. I mean, it's crazy. It's sad. Those people there. There's a level of guilt that every American is going to have to carry over this, because we made them feel like, because the United States was backing them, that they had a chance. And now that, we're watching our own government betray us, those of us who were supporting Ukraine, our government is betraying not just Ukraine, but the people in America who supported Ukraine. We're being betrayed by our own government. How is that possible with a government that's supposed to listen to the people? Because in the Constitution, we the people, right? Well, if we the people is erased, then then the government is running itself. It's just doing whatever the hell it wants without any acknowledgement of what the public is saying. Okay? When that happened, when the government starts doing shit like that and not listening to what the majority of the country wants, that's when you start to lose your democracy, and we've lost it. Okay? We've lost our democracy. It doesn't exist in this country now anymore. It's gone. And we can't get it back until we get rid of the elements that are in the government now that took it away from us. All right? That's the only way it's going to come back. And it'll come back after that little by little, but not all at once, because you still got MAGA to contend with, and those people who are traitors to this country are being given way too much leeway, okay, to do what they want. And this is how a democracy dies, from within, not from without. But we're going to get ourselves in deep, deep, deep trouble here with the rest of the world if Trump pursues this avenue with Putin. Okay, the sanctions didn't do Russia any favors, people. I don't know how closely you people follow Russian politics and stuff, but I keep apprised of the news that's coming out of there from various sources and stuff. And those people over there, I mean, they're used to hard times, okay? It's been bad. A lot of people have lost jobs over there. There's, price of things have gone through the roof over there. And what's happening there now will be happening here soon, okay? So we're going to have a shared problem between our two countries because, both countries, United States and Russia, have done things to piss off the rest of the world, and they will respond, okay? And that would be the perfect time for China to make its move in the Pacific, okay? They want Taiwan. We're going to be too weak to do anything about it, really, because, our military, thanks to Trump's, going to be cut. I don't know what the hell he's got planned for, but somebody had said that even if you took half the budget from the military, and that's a big piece of the pie of our annual budget, okay, in this country. But if you took half of what we give our military, the defense budget, that wouldn't even be enough to pay for the tax breaks that Trump wants to institute for the rich, okay, by the end of the year. He wants to renew those tax breaks that he implemented in 2017. He wants to renew that by the end of the year. And if he does that, it's going to cost trillions of dollars, about, seven, I guess the numbers say, 7 trillion. That's more than half of the defense budget. So he's not going to touch that, from what I understand. So where's he going to get the other part of that? You and me, people, okay? And I do mean that. I don't care who's watching this. You and me. Everybody that's watching this, okay? You're going to be part of that that's going to get cut. I'm going to be part of that that's going to get cut. We're all going to take cuts, and whatever we're getting, okay, we're all going to be hit by this. We're the ones that's going to pay to raise the rich up higher on the ladder of economic. And you know, we all saw the graph that, Bernie Sanders had showed, that over the decades, how the wealth has slowly gone all the way up to the top, leaving very little at the bottom, okay? They hold all the wealth in this country. The rest of us, the middle class, really doesn't exist anymore. There is no middle class to speak of, okay? And that's the way they want it. They want the poor, the impoverished, and the super wealthy. That's the way they want it. Nobody in between. Okay? That's how they want it. I mean, that's the way it was in old Europe, for Christ's sake. I mean, they want to take us back to the fucking dark ages, where you got the poor just scrounging around, living in fucking tents, okay? Working little jobs that pay them nothing, while they're being abused by their overseers, okay? This has taken us way back even before all that, the formation of unions in this country, okay? We're going to go all the way back to that. All that fucking anxiety and fighting and all that stuff that we went through, okay? We're gonna lose all that ground. That's how far back we're going to go, all right? People will take jobs because they got no choice. They'll take the 2 cents an hour, okay, to do this fucking job. They'll go work the goddamn fields that the immigrants had worked. They'll go do it. They got no choice. They want to eat, don't they? You see what I'm saying? That's where we're headed with this bullshit fucking Project 2025, because I'm telling you, and even fucking Musk himself said, we're going to go through some difficult times, okay? Yeah, but he didn't tell you how long those difficult times were going to last. Okay, he made it seem like it was just going to be this blip on the radar. No. When he says we're going to go through difficult times, we're talking years, my friends, years. Even past Trump's, time in office, okay? And, it's going to be a hell of a job for any president after him. I wouldn't want that fucking job. I really wouldn't. I mean, Jesus Christ. It's going to be insane to try to fix that. But the misery is going to go on for a lot longer than even Musk is prepared to admit, okay? I'm telling you. And, with Trump there, and there's even talk about him, and at first this was like he was joking, but now it's become a serious topic. Can Trump have a third term? They're actually debating this now, because they say, well, in the Constitution, it says a person can't have two consecutive, a person can have 2 consecutive terms as president, but they didn't say that, since Trump didn't have a second term immediately after the first one, that maybe he can still get a second term after this one. He didn't get a consecutive one. He just had 1 term. And he's got 1 term now, which means he's still eligible for another term. That's what they're fucking debating right now, okay? I don't think that's how it was meant to be, as far as the founders of this country is concerned. I don't think that's the way it was meant to be written or interpreted. But who in the hell in the Supreme Court is going to argue against it when they were all appointed by Trump? You see what I'm saying? He's got his ass covered 6 ways from Sunday. And we let it happen. We let it happen. And they tell you, you get the government you deserve. Boy, those words mean more today than they ever did, okay? We really got the government we deserve. Okay? We had Biden, and I guess we didn't deserve Biden, and we didn't deserve Kamala after that either, because we were just too fucking broken a society to know better. So we ended up back with the fucking jackass. You know, something happened, you know, I don't know what the hell happened. People say, oh, he must have cheated. I don't know if he cheated or not, because I haven't heard any evidence brought forward to that. So it's just a conspiracy theory at this point. Okay? But if it comes out that he did, I can't say I'd be surprised. The man's not honest. He never is about a goddamn thing. Okay? Whatever he tells you, all right, he's either telling you the truth in a way that you think he's lying, okay, or he is lying. But he's never honest with people. I mean, Christ, he tells stories sometimes, and you wonder, you know, did that even happen? And then press goes and they find out, no, it didn't. You know, it makes you think that he's lost his marbles, but I don't think that's the case. I think he plays us like a fiddle. He plays the country like a fiddle, and all of us are fucking fools to follow him or listen to him. And that includes Democrats that voted for Kamala, as well as the assholes in MAGA that voted for him. Okay, every damn one of us are suckers and fools to listen to him talk, you know, and think that, oh, you know, what he's saying is important. No, what he's saying is only important to him, not to you. Okay, he's got a strategy that's to get him money. What do you think he's talking about, the fucking Panama Canal? He's mad that Jimmy Carter gave that away. As a business person, he looks at that and says, we could make money off of that. Big fucking deal. You know, do we need it? We gave it to them. We entered an agreement in good faith, gave that to them, and now we got a different president. Now we have a different government. Okay, and now we want to go back down there and renege on the agreement. That's not how you do business, okay? I mean, this is what do they call it? Vulture capitalists, okay? They go in there and they buy shit up and then they destroy it. Well, what do you think he's going to do with the Panama Canal? Okay? And then the idea that he wants to take Greenland. Yeah, only because of what's under Greenland, not what's on it, okay? And, you know, Denmark's not going to let that happen. And they're deliberately arming themselves up because, you know, they figure, well, Trump's saying he wants to, we're going to ready ourselves for it, okay? Yeah, do it. You know, ready yourself for it because, hey, you can't go wrong if you err on the side of caution, okay? You can't go wrong. And you can't trust this guy. Don't trust him for 1 minute. If he tells you the sky's blue, don't believe him, okay? He's lying to you, and he won't quit, because that's all he can do is lie, lie, lie. I mean, I look back to the years, you know, that he's sitting there hanging around with Jeffrey Epstein, okay, and how quiet he was during the whole thing with Epstein, as the shit was coming out about what he was up to, you know, and you know, Trump was very, very quick or very, you know, measured about how he responded to it. And the idea that, you know, the women were coming forward, you know, accusing Trump of, you know, being harassed sexually by him and stuff, and some of the, you know, what do they call those pageants and shit like that, where some of the people, the girls that were in the dressing room said he'd come in there and he'd expose himself to them and he'd do all these, you know, weird, perverted things. Okay, and then the shit that he would say about his daughter. Okay, you know, the guy obviously, like I said, has skeletons in his closet that he guards with his life. All right, and a guy like that who will protect himself and lie to do that, you can't trust him. He's got too much baggage to actually be honest about anything. He's too well practiced a liar. All right, he can't tell the truth because for his whole life he couldn't tell the truth about anything. He had to lie. to protect himself from all the deviant shit he was up to. So lying is better. In his mind, it's better. It's better to tell a lie than to tell the truth, right? You know, no matter how ridiculous the lie sounds, it's better to go and lead with that first. All right? So this is the guy you got. This is who our president is. And every country that was once allied to us has every right to question this guy, whether doing anything with him, making even the smallest agreement, like, oh, we'll share pencils or something with him, is a smart thing to do. Okay? I wouldn't get into any deal with this guy. If Trump was a bank, I wouldn't even go there. I wouldn't even cash a check there. Okay? I wouldn't do a damn thing with this guy. You know? If he wasn't a wealthy person and he wasn't president, he'd be on a sex offenders list. Okay? He'd probably be sitting in prison right now for all the fucking shit that he did that's in his closet that I said, you know, that's still there. He'd probably be sitting in prison because he wouldn't have any money to defend himself or try to, you know, buy off judges and shit. Okay? He'd be sitting in prison. He would be he would really be what he should be now. Okay? He's covering up what he is with a suit and tie and a label and a title. Okay? That's what, you know. But hey, you could dress up Jeffrey Dahmer in the same fucking suit and orange hair, okay, and make him wealthy, and I guess MAGA would vote for him, right? That's exactly what they're saying. You know, some of these people last year were defending Trump. I don't care if he took a shit on the stage, I'm still going to vote for him. These are people that voted for Trump. They voted for him out of blind loyalty. And they had no idea what they were getting themselves into, but they thought they knew him better than anyone, and they didn't know him at all. They're finding that out now. They didn't know this guy at all. They really thought that he wouldn't do half the shit he said he was going to do when he was talking to them and all them fucking rallies that they followed him around. Okay? They didn't think he was going to do any of that shit. Well, while they were sitting there disbelieving that, the other side was actually doing the legwork and finding out, hey, he's getting this shit from this goddamn Heritage Foundation, and if they're feeding him this stuff, there's got to be truth to it, because he wouldn't make this shit up if there wasn't anything there to do. And whenever they confronted Trump about it, he'd say, "Oh, I don't know anything about that. I have nothing," you know, because he was involved in it. That's why he was trying to say I'm not involved. He was involved in it, and he knew the public didn't like what was being said in that Project 2025. But Trump was out there trying to cut himself off from it. But only after he wins the election, now all of a sudden he starts to implement all those things in there that he said he knew nothing about. See, he lied. And his approval numbers are showing it that people are turning their backs on him. Okay? I don't care how many people still say, oh, we're standing with him. Okay? Your numbers are dwindling by the week. Okay? Soon it's just only going to be the extreme nut jobs in MAGA that are going to support him, and that's what? You know, a fifth of your fucking movement? I mean, that's all there is. That's not going to be enough to, you know, to make any damn bit of difference in the primaries that are, I mean, in the midterms that are coming up. Okay? You're not going to have enough of a fucking base to be able to save their, you know, the MAGA people in the Senate or in Congress to keep their seats. You know. But, you know, Canada, you know, looks to Europe now for things instead of the United States. Again, I don't blame them for that. I really don't. You know, I can't hate these countries, my friends. I can't hate them for turning their back on the United States. Okay? They're doing the smart thing. Okay? I really can't blame them. And I'm sure nobody cares, you know, about that, but they're going to. By the end of spring or the start of summer, people are going to start noticing things are going to be difficult to get, to buy. Okay? You know, there's going to be an unemployment rise in this country. Places will close up. You're going to wonder, you know, oh, why is this happening? You know, of course, Trump said, oh, it's Biden's fault. Yeah, like all those executive orders he's been throwing around here, that had nothing to do with it, right? Yeah, really. So anyway, like I said, that's where we are today, and I don't know. It just feels hopeless, and I wish there was more good things I could say, you know, to give people hope, but that depends on the Democrats, really. That depends on how hard they want to push back on Trump, because, like I said, if you don't have an equal and opposite reaction to something, guess what? You're fucked. All right, that's it for today, and I hope everybody has a great weekend. Please subscribe, share, and comment, and you know, keep your ears open for health issues out there, and treat each other in a community fashion. Okay, don't close yourself off from your neighbors. Try to get along with them, because you know you're going to need those you know, those that chain of help out there as times get tough. Okay, and I know for some of you it's going to be difficult to reach out to strangers, but they're only strangers until you meet them. Okay, so don't live in a bubble. Okay, that gets nobody anywhere. So we'll talk to you guys later.